BingX, a trusted global crypto exchange. Trade spot, futures, or copy top traders easily. Sign up via the link or referral code to get 30 USDT instantly, plus up to 1,500 USDT in bonuses for verification, deposit, and trading.
The Democratic Republic of Congo has voiced strong condemnation, labeling the European Union's continued minerals deal with Rwanda as a blatant double standard. This accusation stems from the EU's decision to maintain trade relations with Kigali for crucial materials powering Europe's high-tech industries, while simultaneously imposing extensive sanctions on Russia following its invasion of Ukraine. Therese Kayakwamba-Wagner, the DRC's foreign minister, has unequivocally called for more robust sanctions against Rwanda, a nation widely implicated in fueling the protracted conflict devastating eastern DRC. Minister Wagner described the bloc's current response to violations of Congolese territory as remarkably timid. Drawing a stark parallel with the EU's decisive action against Moscow, she articulated, "It is an obvious double standard, and I wish to be constructive here. That leaves us with profound curiosity and a pressing need to understand why the EU consistently struggles to take meaningful action." The DRC and Rwanda did sign a peace accord in June, a diplomatic effort spearheaded by the United States and Qatar with the stated aim of ending a decades-long conflict. However, this conflict saw a significant escalation earlier this year when the M23 rebel group, allegedly backed by Rwanda, seized vast swathes of Congolese territory, including two strategically important cities. Despite the peace initiative, deadly attacks on civilians have persisted, and a critical deadline for reaching a comprehensive peace agreement was missed in August, casting a long shadow over the region's prospects for stability. Earlier last year, a comprehensive report by a panel of UN experts provided compelling evidence, stating that as many as 4,000 Rwandan troops were fighting in conjunction with the M23 rebels, and that the Rwandan military exercised de facto control over M23 operations. Rwanda has consistently denied any involvement in supporting M23, maintaining that its forces operate solely in self-defense. In a significant development on Thursday, DRC President Felix Tshisekedi directly appealed to his Rwandan counterpart, Paul Kagame, during a high-profile Brussels event attended by both leaders. President Tshisekedi urged President Kagame to cease his alleged support for militants operating within the DRC. This direct appeal, however, drew a swift and sharp rebuke from Kigali, which accused the Congolese president of being completely mistaken regarding the fundamental causes of the conflict. President Tshisekedi, reaching out in a gesture of peace, stated to President Kagame, "This requires you to order the M23 troops supported by your country to halt this escalation, which has already resulted in a tragic loss of life." In response, Rwandan Foreign Minister Olivier Nduhungirehe later took to the platform X, formerly Twitter, asserting that President Tshisekedi was completely mistaken and accusing him of misusing the forum at the Brussels event. Prior to this meeting, Minister Wagner had meticulously drawn parallels between Rwanda's alleged territorial incursions into the DRC and Russia's invasion of Ukraine. She highlighted that while the EU had readily adopted a comprehensive suite of sanctions against Russia, its response to the conflict in eastern DRC had been characterized by very timid progress. The eastern DRC, a region that shares a border with Rwanda and is rich in natural resources, has endured over 3 decades of extreme violence, largely fueled by non-state armed groups. The EU has so far imposed sanctions on 32 individuals and 2 entities, a militant group and a Rwandan gold refiner involved in the illegal supply of the metal, holding them accountable for their roles in exacerbating the conflict. The EU's justification for these sanctions notes that the Rwandan Defense Force operating in eastern DRC has demonstrably violated Congolese territory and sustains the armed conflict, and is also responsible for serious human rights abuses, including collective punishment. Despite these serious findings of human rights abuses attributed to the Rwandan army within the DRC, the European Commission has largely dismissed calls to suspend a significant minerals deal signed with Kigali in 2024. This agreement is specifically designed to bolster the supply of raw materials essential for powering Europe's electric vehicle batteries and microchip manufacturing. Minister Wagner has strongly asserted that the Memorandum of Understanding with Rwanda is devoid of any credibility in a context where it has been established that Rwanda has been siphoning off Congolese resources, extracted under brutal conditions of forced labor, including the exploitation of children. The United States and numerous other international actors have also expressed serious concerns about the illicit trade of gold and tantalum originating from eastern Congo. These resources, allegedly extracted through forced labor, are then trafficked to Rwanda for export, ultimately benefiting armed groups. Wagner emphasized that the decision to suspend or annul the agreement rests with the EU, but stated that silence is probably the least constructive response, and the most perplexing one. The ongoing conflict in eastern DRC represents one of the 7 wars that former U.S. President Donald Trump has claimed to have resolved. However, data from the UN reveals that between June and the end of September, a staggering 1,087 people were killed. This region continues to grapple with one of the world's most severe humanitarian crises, with over 7.8 million people internally displaced within eastern DRC and a further 28 million facing acute food insecurity, including a dire 4 million at emergency levels, according to UN figures. As the DRC's chief diplomat, Minister Wagner was instrumental in signing the agreement with Rwanda at the White House in June, an accord that also seeks to grant the United States enhanced access to Congolese natural resources. She noted that the U.S. remains actively engaged in the peace process and rejected suggestions that former President Trump's primary motivation was solely the DRC's vast mineral wealth, while acknowledging it is just a reality that this potential is currently untapped. Minister Wagner's presence in Brussels coincided with a conference on the Global Gateway Initiative, Europe's response to China's Belt and Road Initiative, which aims to finance infrastructure projects worldwide. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, who opened the conference, articulated the EU's desire for partnerships based on common interests and respect for sovereignty. She specifically highlighted the Lobito Corridor, a vital transport link comprising